is serious here. Borrell, we are welcoming you in Media Centre Ukraine Forum. I'd like to say that this is the main platform, communication platform of our country for now, and we operate with the help and with assistance of EU who supported us. Thank you. So let's start. We welcome here, as I said, Mr. Josep Borrell, EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, and Vice President of the European Commission. Press briefing follows his visit to the Ukrainian Centre for Strategic Communications and Information Security, which operates under the Ministry of Information Policy and Culture. And dear journalists, we have an embargo policy here. Embargo for Media Centre press conference should be lifted 15 minutes after the departure of Mr. Borrell from the building. So we do ask you not to post any information before, and no live streaming, therefore. And I give the floor to Mr. Borrell, please.
Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for your attention. Yesterday I was on the front line of the military aggression of Russia against Ukraine. I was in Odessa, where I had the opportunity to witness the way Russia is attacking civil infrastructure, churches, houses, in such a beautiful city as Odessa. And today I have had the honor to participate on the commemoration, celebration of the Ukrainian Day of Defenders, a day to honor the women and men who stand up against the Russian aggression, fighting every day, risking their lives, fighting for their country's future, and also on the defense of the international order. Yes, it has been a very moving ceremony today, and I had the opportunity to exchange with some of the soldiers injured in combat that were present at the ceremony. And now, just a moment ago, I've been visiting another front line, the front line of the information war, because there is a war being fought with classical arms or warfare, and there is another war, which is the war of information. Nothing new. The war of information has always existed, but now is being used massively. And Russia aggression against Ukraine is being accompanied by a massive, what we call hybrid attacks, which means propaganda, manipulation of the information, disinformation campaigns, and also cyber attacks to the information networks. We have to counter this hybrid war. And in particular, we have to fight against disinformation. That's a high priority for the European Union and Ukraine. And I am happy to visit this center for the people who works in order to fight this battle against propaganda, which we see developing at a large scale. We see that in Africa, we see that in Latin America, and in Asia. Through this war of propaganda and disinformation, Russia is trying to deflect its responsibility for the war, denying the occupation, the annexations, the atrocities, blaming others for the consequences of the food and energy crisis, and trying to make the world to believe that the same power who is blocking the exports of grain from the Ukrainian ports is innocent of the hunger in the world. And the hunger is not created by the naval blockade of the Russian Navy. No, it's created by us. It's created by Ukraine and created by the West. We have to fight against twisted narrative, which I said is nothing new. We have been witnessing this kind of histories, narrative, during the Cold War, and more recently since the aggression against annexation of Crimea. And we have to fight this battle. We have to win this battle. because it's not only about territory, it's about the minds of the people. And that's why we have to build organizations and support entities like the one that I just visited, the Ukrainian Centre for Strategic Communication and Information Security. This center is at the forefront of fighting against Russia disinformation. But believe me, the disinformation ecosystem put in place by the Kremlin is not only to undermine Ukraine. They try to undermine the international support to Ukraine. They try to make the people consider this war another war among Europeans that has nothing to do with them. Another war that has to stop. And yes, we want the war to stop, and the ones who want the war to stop as soon as possible are the Ukrainians who are suffering the consequences I could have been witnessing in those days. But Russia has not a positive narrative agenda on cooperation, has not a narrative agenda on peace, and that's why we have to continue debunking and fighting against twisted and misleading narrative. That we try to do in cooperation with the center, supporting it, addressing to the Ukrainian society, which is a strong and resilient society, as I prove every day. It is the way that we could promote the truth about Putin's aggression, exposing Russian lies to the entire world, and because we are here, for that we are here, like we are working also in Brussels with the effort undertaken by the European Union. On that also the European Union and Ukraine are supporting the same purpose. Ukraine should prevail and the truth too. Thank you.
Dear journalists, you have the floor for questions, and please name yourself and your media, and afterwards ask the question. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Olena Plesnyakova, Public Broadcasting Company of Ukraine. So I have a question about your visit in Kyiv today. You wrote on your Twitter that you met with our new defense minister, Mr. Umerov. Maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the topics that you have discussed and maybe about any decisions that you have made with our new minister. Thank you so much.
Well, it was a pleasure to meet in person your new defense minister. I had the opportunity to talk with him at phone, first to congratulate him for his nomination and to wish the best on his difficult endeavor. And today we had the opportunity of meeting and sharing information, discussing about the situation in the ground from the military perspective, from our support to the Ukrainian army from a military point of view. I cannot tell you everything that we have exchanged, as you can understand, but it has been a meeting in order to identify the priorities of the defense minister, to tell him what we are doing, what we could do more, what are their most pressing necessities from the point of view of ammunition, training, providing arms for what kind of battle, and also to try to understand better why in some cases our support is not being perceived as important as it is, because it is, and I want to stress the figures, and I explained to the minister, our military support to Ukraine has reached a figure of 25 billion euros. And altogether, military, civilian, humanitarian, has reached a figure of 85 billion euros, which is together, European institutions and member states, is the highest amount in the world. And we are proud of it, and we know how important it is, and I assure the minister that, yes, we work for peace, but in the meantime, we have to continue supporting him. We review all the aspects of our cooperation, and we committed to continue working together. Thank you.
Please hear. Yes.
Oksana Tkachenko, 1+1 Media TV channel. Mr. Borrell, welcome to Ukraine. I have two questions. The first one is about recent news. The US Congress has approved a temporary budget, but without aid to Ukraine. And I would like to ask you whether the European Union has any kind of a plan in case of any delays with American aid. And the second question about military support. This March, the European members made an unprecedented plan to deliver 1 million ammunition within 12 months. How this process is going on? Is there any information about numbers we have right now and maybe future numbers? Thank you.
Thank you. I understand the interest that everybody has about the recent decision on the American Congress. Well, a couple of days ago, it was another vote in which the Democrats and part of the Republicans, not all, but part of it, voted in favor of allocating 300 million euros to the Ukrainian armed forces. So we believe that things were on track. And to tell the truth, we were surprised by the fact that the last minute agreement has taken a decision that we have to regret deeply and thoroughly. And we believe it's not the last word. After listening to President Biden, who make a call for this decision to be reconsidered, I have the hope that this will not be a definitive decision and Ukraine will continue having the support of the US. From our side, we haven't waited for this decision to be taken to increase our propositions to support Ukraine. Well before yesterday, the Commission announced the proposition to the member states of a Ukrainian fund with 50 billion euros, and I proposed in Toledo on our last informal meeting, I made to my colleagues a proposition to create inside the European Peace Facility and a specific fund allocated to Ukraine for 20 billion for the next 4 years. Well, the discussion continues. All things have to be considered together, but it shows that our support to Ukraine not only continues, but increases, or at least by the time being the proposition on the table shows that we want to continue and increasing it. And I hope member states will decide it together with the financial perspective before the end of the year. So let's see what's happening in the US, but from our side, we will continue supporting and increasing our support. And it was another question? Yes, ammunition. We have been asking the member states to deploy its capacities in order to provide the Ukrainian army with the stockpiles they have. And now we have been asking the European industry to increase their production capacity. And we created a plan in order that member states go together to present their requests, their demands to the industry in order to shorten the delay of producing, shorten the production capacity, and increasing the production capacity. It's not shortening the production time and increasing the production capacity. The figures, by the time being, I think that we are reaching almost the 300,000 munitions already sent to Ukraine. I'm talking about 155 millimeters, plus about 2,800 missiles. It's still not everything that we have to provide, but we are, I think, in good track. Using 3 tracks, asking the European armies to provide what they already have, asking the industry to increase their capacity, and asking member states to go together for common procurement in order to shorten delays and decreasing prices.
Good afternoon, Paulo Jerónimo, RTP, Portuguese television. I need a position from you about the Slovakian results of the elections. Mr. Roberto Fico wants, he tells before that if he wants the support from the European Union and Slovakia to Ukraine is going to change. What do you think about that, please? Thank you.
Well, first of all my respect to the decision of the electors expressing their political will in free elections in any European country. It's not to me to say if I like or I like not any result of the elections. It's up to the European citizens in each member state to exert their freedom of choice. And secondly, let's see. Until now, and since the beginning of the war, the European member states have shown an incredible and quick unity on taking decisions to support Ukraine. I think that Putin was the first surprise, seeing that the European Union member states were united, and in spite of a strong energy dependency, we were able to approve one after the other many sanction packages, and using the resources of our European Peace Facility to provide arms to Ukraine, and increasing the amount of these resources day by day. And this has been possible thanks to the unanimity of all member states, even the most reluctant. Some of them, or at least one of them, expressed doubts but voted in favor. Expressed doubt but paid their contribution. So let's see what's happening with full respect to the elections, and we will continue in order to have this unanimity continue.
Dear colleagues, unfortunately, we have a time limit, which I was...
We can take a couple more questions.
Okay.
We have plenty of time.
Yes, please.
Thank you, High Rep. Lawrence Norman from the Wall Street Journal. Mr. Borrell, did the Ukrainian Defense Minister tell you that Ukraine could make further gains before the end of the offensive? And if not, if there is a stalemate on the ground, how do you convince the European public not just to continue supporting Ukraine, but as you just said, increase support for Ukraine?
Our support to Ukraine doesn't depend on how the war is going on the next days or weeks. The Ukrainian soldiers are fighting with a lot of courage in front of impressive Russian defense fortifications. The satellite images shows that in some cases these fortifications are 25 kilometers deep or wide. So the counteroffensive is a difficult exercise in a territory completely mined that makes it very difficult to use mechanized warfare in order to advance quicker. So our support is not conjunctural. It doesn't depend on the advances one day. It's a permanent and structured support because we are facing an existential threat for Europe. An existential threat cannot be balanced by the sort de la guerre one day or another. The Ukrainians are fighting with all their courage and capacities, and if we want them to be more successful, we have to provide with better arms and quicker.
Yeah, please.
Thank you, Tele Union. I would like to ask a question. You many times said that European Union has a plan by the end of this year to train up to 40,000 Ukrainian soldiers. Do you have a vision to continue this mission for the next year, to continue to train Ukrainian soldiers? Also, I would like to ask you whether it is agreed a date in order to hold EU Council in Kiev on the level of foreign ministers. And do you think that European Union member states would approve your plan for 20 billion euros for the period of 4 years? Because there are some signals that this could be really delayed or postponed because of some positions of specific members. Thank you.
I know how decisions are taken in the European Union. It's not overnight that we decide these important issues. Ministers are discussing, and I'm sure by the end of the year, when we approve the whole package of multi-annual financial perspective review, this will be decided. But I cannot tell you if it's next week or next month, but it will be done on appropriated time. Don't expect tomorrow any decision, because tomorrow is an informal council, and the informal councils are devoted to deep political discussions, not to take concrete decisions. Thank you.
Unfortunately, we have a time limit, and thank you, dear colleagues, and thank you, Mr. Borrell, for your support and for coming here. Yeah, thank you. The press conference is closed. Please do not forget that we have 15 minutes delay of the posting materials. Thanks a lot.